In the beginning, there was this man who was very, very happy. Then the busybody police got involved and decided he should not be happy anymore. So when he suddenly realized how fleeting life can be and how easily the rules can change, he changed too. He decided to set new priorities for his life. And he dedicated himself to a new path.
What if Saw X was the last performance of Tobin Bell as Jigsaw? Hello everybody, this is Jacob Walton, and welcome to Sawscription. This is a new series I've been wanting to do for a while right now. The concept of this show is basically a fan fiction series based on the Saw franchise, where I come up with ideas and pitches for storylines, characters, and new directions that these films could take in the future. If you're here because of the 2021 SAW-Tober edition reel, welcome, and enjoy the rest of this video and all other pitches that I'm including on this channel, as well as other pitches from our other content creators. On this first episode of Sawscription, we're looking at a film pitch that can be used for Tobin Bell to play the Jigsaw character in a full-length feature film where he is the center focused. Before we get into the pitch itself, some background. Back in late 2018, there were rumors going around Reddit that Jigsaw 2, the next film in the Saw franchise and a sequel to the 2017 film, would be put on hold. Instead, the franchise would be coming up with a Saw prequel film that would solely focus on John Kramer and would take place after the events of Saw 1. The rumored working title of the film was called Kill Jigsaw. Writers Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger would confirm this idea in the Spiral DVD extras. Pete Goldfinger even said that since Tobin looked older in this film and it was considered to be a flashback, they would really play up the cancer treatments taking its toll on John Kramer. Matt Passmore was also rumored to be attached to this project as well. And that makes sense since the writers intended for Logan Nelson to be the main antagonist going forward in future films. But when Chris Rock came on board, this project was completely scrapped and in all likelihood may never happen. But what if it did? What if we get for the next pitch idea for Saw X for Tobin Bell to come back and play his iconic role of John Kramer, and thus giving him a proper swan song, if you will, of playing the Jigsaw character. So in this Sawscription, I will go ahead and use the same working title, Kill Jigsaw, and use the same ideas. Let's talk about casting first before we begin talking about the plot of the film. First off, no Dr. Gordon. He can be used in a later sequel down the stretch, plus Carrie Elwes may not have an opinion of coming back as well. Also, I wouldn't use the character of Eleanor Bonneville. I mean, I love Hannah Emily Anderson's performance in Jigsaw, but this is a prequel, and it does take place after the events of Saw 1, so using her wouldn't really make sense in this film either. Finally, no cops in this film. We've seen tons of police procedurals in 9 straight Saw films. We could truly shake up the formula by completely cutting out cops whatsoever. So here's who you would have in this film. Obviously, you'll need Tobin Bell to play Jigsaw, and we'll have to have Matt Passmore also reprise the role of Logan again. This makes sense because we essentially need these two characters to interact with each other and help play out this story going forward to establish both their connection to each other. But we need a character to be tested by John Kramer and to have a sole focus for a game in this film. I thought about it, and what if we got a character who knows Logan Nelson very well? Let's say he's a member of his unit. And this person happens to be someone who is worthy of being tested by John Kramer. The actor I've chosen for this role would be Ben Barnes from The Westworld and most notably The Punisher. I think casting Ben would be great for the Saw franchise. He has experience playing military roles, which he can play off of with Matt Passmore, and playing the character of Jigsaw in the Punisher TV series. So how cool would it be to have a Jigsaw versus Jigsaw in film? Plus you can throw in a couple side characters such as Keith, Ben Barnes' wife, his girlfriend, and other people to play track victims, and you're all set. So now that we have our cast, now let's get into our story details. This is Kill Jigsaw. The film opens with John Kramer playing a record player, and a montage begins with him building a trap. During this montage, we see a man named Dex, played by Ben Barnes. Dex goes through his daily life routine. We see he has troubles such as neglecting his wife, he skips work early, he even goes to have an affair with another woman, and he also sees his drug dealer to supply him with more drugs. When he goes back home and he opens the door, Dex is suddenly abducted by a pig mask. At the same time, the drug dealer we saw earlier also gets abducted, as well as the woman who Dex was having the affair with. All three of them were abducted by people in their pig mask. One of the pig masks is revealed to be Logan Nelson. Logan takes the drug dealer, who he kidnapped, straight to John Kramer and sets him up in the trap that John has been working on. This trap that John was working on was meant for two people. Logan then curiously asks John, "Where's the other guy for this trap?" At that moment, John sneaks up behind Logan and stabs him in the neck with the syringe. As Logan begins to fade out, John looks down at him and whispers these words, "Right here." We then cut to the title card called Kill Jigsaw. Just then, Logan wakes up and he and the drug dealer are placed in the same trap John was working on. Both are in two separate cages with glass scattered all across the floor, and neither one of these men have shoes. Both have collars around their necks, and Logan is screaming for John to stop this. The drug dealer questions Logan on what is going on. The trap begins with no tape, no puppet, and it just drags both Logan and the drug dealer straight across the room, across shattered glass, and into a giant meat grinder or wood chipper. To escape this room, both men had to walk across broken glass to get the key from the other side. But there's only one key. Both men fight over the key and get all bloody up. The drug dealer is an even match for Logan, but in the end, Logan overpowers him and manages to get the key to free himself from his chain, while a drug dealer is continued to be pulled into the grinder, killing him instantly. Logan escapes the room, and John is sitting there at his desk waiting for him as if nothing happened. Logan asks John what the hell's going on. John tells him it's a game, and this is your test. Logan is confused by this remark, and then he grabs John by the collar and brings him up close and threatens to kill him. John tells him that is the only way to win this game. Logan has to kill John. Logan is confused by this, and he's still bleeding from his feet and his back. John then immediately offers Logan to help patch up his wounds. Logan is reluctant, but agrees to listen to John, and it allows him to help him. John begins to help Logan patch up all the wounds and pulls out the glass from his feet and his back. He also stitches Logan's back up, kind of like the way he did in Jigsaw, but strangely, John patches something inside Logan's back that we don't quite see just yet. More on that later. While John is stitching up Logan, he explains to him that it's time for him to step up and carry out his life's work. John then tells Logan that he injected him with poison in his body before he was placed in the trap, and that it is slowly killing him. Logan has around 2 to 3 hours to live. An antidote is placed in the safe in the same room with both John and Logan. John takes the key to the safe with the antidote inside, and he actually takes the key, holds it up in front of Logan, and swallows the key. So now Logan has to literally kill John to get the key from his stomach. Logan, of course, is beside himself and doesn't know what to think of this, and tells John he can't do it, and there has to be another way. John says there is, and there are 3 trials that Logan can complete. If Logan succeeds, there is another antidote at the end of the 3rd test. However, John will go with him every step of the way. he gives Logan a knife as a way out for him to kill Jigsaw. The first test for Logan is to place the man who we saw at the beginning of the movie, Dex, in another trap for him to be tested in. Logan knows this man from his unit, back from the war. We then cut back to flashbacks of Logan in the military along with Keith Hunt from Jigsaw. Logan and Keith are on patrol, but then suddenly they are ambushed by members of the Taliban. They both wonder how on earth that the Taliban was able to spot their position. We see a montage of Logan and Keith fighting off soldiers, and we get to see our first army action scene in a Saw film. We see Logan suddenly get separated from Keith based off an explosion, and he is captured by the Taliban along with members of his unit. Logan watches his men in his unit get tortured to death by the Taliban, and some of them are even beheaded in front of Logan. All this torture leaves Logan emotionally scarred, thus causing his PTSD attacks that was seen in the movie Jigsaw. We cut back to present day, and John is now making a tape recorder in front of Logan on an unconscious Dex. John then tells Logan and the audience as he's recording the tape that Dex has neglected his family and allowed the war to corrupt his mind, and he chooses to live life on the edge and not appreciate his own life and the effects it has on others. Now the real world begins. John then chains Dex's neck to a collar which is anchored to the ground and then locks the door behind him and Logan. It turns out that the three of them are in a giant aquarium tank. This also means that the location of this game takes place at the same abandoned zoo as we've seen in Saw 6. Dex wakes up and realizes where he's at. He both sees John and Logan on the ground in front of him and immediately asks Logan what's going on and to help him. John then walks over to Logan and hands him the tape recorder, saying the words, "Do you want to tell him, or do you want me to give him this?" He then hands the recorder to Logan. Logan looks speechless, but then, as soon as he's getting ready to address Dex, water begins to rise in the aquarium. John tells Logan that there are two keys to free Dex. One of the keys is inside Dex's eye, similar to the Venus flytrap in Saw 2. And the second key to free Dex is the same key that John swallowed at the beginning of the film. John tells Logan he has the tool to save Dex's life. Logan immediately looks down at the knife that John gave him before they entered the room. Logan then takes the knife and then knocks Dex out in the head and then stabs him through the eye to retrieve the key and pulls out Dex's eye. Dex screams in the process, but Logan was able to retrieve the key. Logan then grabs the key to free Dex and grabs a hold of him, and both of them swim up to the top, climbing out of the tank. John is still in the tank with them, and he is struggling to swim on top of this. He has flashbacks of his past lives memories with Jill and the announcement that she's pregnant with her son. Before John can drown, Logan immediately grabs John and saves him and pulls him back up top. Dex, who is still in rage, tries to kill John, but John has a syringe in his pocket, immediately stabs Dex right in the neck and knocks him out. Logan then gets back up and looks at this, and John, catching his breath, mutters the words, "Remember, it has to be you that has to be the one to kill me, no one else." Logan then finally asks John why is he doing this. John confesses to Logan that he knows at this point the cancer will take over and he won't survive by the end of the year. He has chosen Logan to be the one to carry out his life's work. John wants to pass on what he's learned to Logan, and so that he doesn't make the same mistakes that John did. And that's the first lesson. Learn from our mistakes so that you will not repeat them. Logan then begins to spit up blood, and John tells Logan that he has under 90 minutes left, so he suggests either kill John now or help carry Dex to the next room. While Logan works on patching up Dex's eye socket while he's unconscious, John is making a brand new Billy doll. During this time, John talks with Logan about his life and how he grew up the oldest of two brothers and one sister. He tells Logan about the time his dad took his own life driving off a cliff, killing him and their younger brother, Billy, who was unknowingly in the car with John's father. Because of this, John then went to work to provide for his family and would later lose his mom to cancer, which is an irony of both given that John tried to commit suicide while driving off a cliff and that he's currently dying of cancer, just like his mom was. The significance of the tricycle was it was the last gift that John was given to his little brother Billy, hence the name of the puppet. He reveals to Logan that the only family that he has left are his brother and his sister, along with his nieces and nephews. The next test is for Dex, and John and Logan have moved to watch from the monitors in a room above. This trap involves the woman that Dex was having an affair with at the beginning of the film. Her name will be Krista. Krista is chained by her neck and by her arms, and she is chained to a post with her back completely exposed. It's a trap where Krista will be whipped to death by the machine that is cranked all the way down, and as soon as it reaches the bottom of the floor, it releases and whips her so hard to where flesh will be removed from her back. Dex has a choice. He can either step in and take the hits for Krista like she's been covering for him in their affair, or he can move out of the way and she will be whipped to death. He has 3 minutes to decide before she dies. We get another flashback, and it's a time where Logan and Dex were also in the same unit, and we find out that one of the men being tortured alongside Logan was Dex himself, and he was also whipped. Logan's PTSD is starting to kick in, and John says he can stop it by calling the police and giving them their location. And the moment that Logan picks up the phone, the machine stops. She can survive under 3 minutes of torture. Logan is tempted, and when he sees that someone was tortured the way he was, he wants to help them. The machine starts, and Dex tries to take a few hits from the machine for Krista, but after his own personal PTSD kicks in as well from being tortured by the Taliban, he decides to step out of the way, and Krista takes most of the hits. Logan continues to look on. He decides not to pick up the phone and watches Krista being whipped to death by the machine, and as the 3 minutes expired, Krista dies. John tells Logan the next lesson is for him to always let things play out and to anticipate every choice and outcome. Essentially, the heart cannot be involved in the decision. As soon as the game is over, John gives Logan a gun. He tells him that he has about under an hour left before the poison takes its toll on his body. John tells Logan that he can make it quick, and John will forgive him for doing so if he wants to kill him with the gun. Logan checks out the gun, but he finds out that it is not loaded. John tells him that the ammunition for the gun is in the next room, and that he could kill him there when they arrive. Dax remembers the last time he saw his wife, and is told to head to the next room where we see John start the final game for him. During this flashback, we know that Dax isn't a bad guy. He's just trying to find ways to cope with all the pain that he went through and then needs to escape his past PTSD trauma. Hence explains why we see him use drugs and sex with Krista at the beginning of the movie. Not to mention, with Ben Barnes playing in this role, he can really sell that in his performance, kind of like the way we saw him when he played the role of Billy Russo in The Punisher. We then continue with another flashback of Logan and Dex in the military. We get to the point where after members of Logan's unit have been killed, the Taliban is about to execute Logan. But then, suddenly Dax breaks free from his chain and fights off members of the Taliban along with Logan. They were able to kill 3 members of the Taliban, and they were able to drag each other out of their camp. Then the US military comes in and rescues them both. We see Keith leading the charge, and Dex tells Logan in the helicopter that both of them are brothers, and they will always fight together till the end. Logan then remembers those words, and we cut back to him and John. John tells Logan there's one last lesson for him to learn. John then suddenly pushes Logan into the room with Dex, and John mutters the words, and that final lesson is betrayal. With Dex and Logan locked in the same room, the Billy doll comes in on the TV screen above, and he talks about how Dex has been a backstabber and a snake, not only through his lying and cheating on his wife, who is now suddenly in a trap in the same room with Logan and Dex. We see Dex's wife, whose head is covered in a potato sack, and her head is placed in a guillotine. She screams for Dex and Logan to help. Logan screams at John that she is innocent and she does not deserve this. Logan is thinking John is betraying everything that he stands for and his work by killing an innocent woman. John then reveals the truth to Logan, that the man in his unit that gave away the positions and allowed Logan to be captured was Dex. Dex was the one that gave away Logan's position while he was being tortured, thus allowing Logan to suffer the same fate Dex did and causing 3 members of his men to be beheaded by the Taliban. Dex does not deny this accusation from John Kramer. Logan looks at Dex and he knows that John is telling the truth. So here is the final game. The guillotine starts in a lower position. John tells them both he's wearing a heart monitor. With every beat of his heart, the guillotine rises higher and higher, and at the end of 5 minutes, the guillotine will reach to the top and then it will drop to decapitate Dex's wife. Also, with every beat of John's heart, it also begins to charge a battery of an electric chair. John is going to sit in the electric chair and watch both Dex and Logan down below. And when the electric chair is fully charged, it will activate and kill John in the process. But if John dies, then so does Dex's wife. Keep in mind, if John doesn't die, then Logan will die because John has possession of the key inside his body that Logan needs to get to the safe, which is in the room with him and Dex. The final trap room takes place in a cage filled with weapons and instruments of torture as both Logan and Dex look around and they both start to have flashbacks of their time in the war with the same weapons that the Taliban used to torture both of them. Billy tells Dex that the key to saving his wife and leaving this cage is stitched in the back of Logan Nelson. Remember back earlier in the movie when John Kramer sewed something in the back of Logan? We find out that it was a key that John slid into Logan's skin while he was stitching him up. For Logan to win the game, he simply must run out the clock and survive long enough for John to be electrocuted. For Dex to win the game, he has to get the key from Logan's body and open the cage door to unlock his wife's head from the guillotine. So either Dex kills Logan to save his wife, or Logan kills Dex to save John. So someone is going to die. Billy ends this message with these words: make your choice. Dex apologizes to Logan for betraying him, but also reminds him that he understands all the mistakes he's made. And right now, he'll do whatever it takes to save him and his wife to make things right. He then decides to attack Logan. They both begin to fight, and keep in mind, Logan is very weak at this point from all the poison taking the toll on his body. Just as Dex is about to kill Logan, Logan takes the knife that John gave him and stabs Dex in the leg. He then takes the gun that John also gave him and manages to find the shell casings and place it together. He loads the gun up and points it at Dex. Dex understands that he deserves this. He looks up at Logan and mouths the words, "Do what you got to do." Logan shoots Dex in the stomach, who looks at his wife and mouths the words with his dying breath, "I'm sorry." Dex then falls into a vat of acid that was also in the room, and he melts away and dies. Logan slowly gets up and walks up to free John. John then gets out of the electric chair and walks up to Logan. Logan is now a capable killer. Logan chose to kill the man that betrayed him. John tells Logan that he's running out of time and needs to go ahead and kill him now. Logan could take the key from John's stomach and open the safe next to the chair with the antidote. Logan takes the gun and motions to shoot John, but in the end, he can't do it. But there is one problem. John is still wearing the heart monitor, and since his heart is still beating, the guillotine is still rising. It now reaches the top, the guillotine drops, and beheads Dex's wife. Having seen this, Logan is enraged, drops the gun, and begins to choke the life out of John and yells at him that you're an insane old man and you deserve to die. But just as he's about to kill John, the poison starts to take its toll and Logan collapses. While Logan is choking on the ground and coughing up blood, he has a flashback and realizes that the key from Dex's eye is the same key that John said would be the key needed to open the chain, and thus realizing that the key from Dex's eye would work for the safe. Logan then crawls to his safe, pulls the key out of his pocket from the first game, unlocks the safe, opens it, and sees the antidote inside. He takes the needle and immediately injects it into his neck, thus saving his life. He turns to look at John, who is still on the ground gasping for air after being strangled by Logan. Logan tells John he's learned the lessons John taught him about planning ahead and always thinking about everything. John manages to crack a smile and he begins to laugh. And he says, "But you still forgot the last lesson. Betrayal." Suddenly, the Hello Zepp music begins to play. Then, out of nowhere, Dex's wife's body begins to raise up, and the head that was chopped off by the guillotine was actually a dummy. And the woman who was in the trap reveals herself to be Amanda Young. Turns out it wasn't Dex's wife in the trap at all, and it was Amanda, and she used a pre-recorded tape of Dex's wife who is trapped in a nearby room. John was also never endangered the whole time in the electric chair. John gave Logan the chance to take over his legacy, but now he can't because Logan didn't follow the rules. Logan and Dex could have trusted each other like they used to back in their military days and found a way to get the key out of Logan's back. But instead, Logan gave in to his anger and took vengeance against Dex for betraying him. This was the lesson that Logan taught John back in the movie Jigsaw. We can never come from anger or vengeance. Logan asks John if he's going to kill him now. John says, "Of course not. I'm not a true killer like you." However, John tells Logan that he may have failed to kill John and take over. Amanda will now be the one selected to take over John's work when he dies. But while Logan may have failed to become the next Jigsaw, he showed John that he has the passion and the will to live and to do whatever it takes to survive when faced with death. He believes Logan is now a changed man for that. So John tells Logan that he has one final choice tonight: stay with him and help Amanda carry out his work, or walk away and start a new life and take everything that John has taught him and use it to start a family and to never neglect it the way John did with his family and his wife, Jill. Logan looks up at John and decides to walk away. Amanda helps John back into his wheelchair, and as soon as Logan closes the door, John mutters these words: "Game over." As Logan walks out the door, Dex's wife is now free from her prison room, and she runs to Logan and embraces him. Logan hugs her and whispers in her ear and tells her everything is going to be okay. Christine. Back inside, Amanda wheels John up to Dex's body. John stops, takes the knife that was used to help kill Dex, and cuts out one puzzle piece out of Dex's dead body and smiles at the camera as it cuts to black. And there you have it, folks. There's my pitch for Saw 10, Kill Jigsaw. I hope you all enjoy it. This has been a fun series to take on for the first time. There will be more videos coming out in the coming weeks or months. If you're already watching these videos, go free to check it out. And don't forget about SAW-Tober this year in 2021. I'm Jacob Walton, and this has been SAW-Scription.